connections between the city and the tech industry, two seemingly different communities in many ways, but actually with a lot in common. The people from the city are the old men with ties. Yes. Some of them have taken their ties off already, and everybody else is from the tech industry. Not quite. I think it was last year when the tech people dressed up and the city people dressed down, but never mind. We've hosted a number of events over the last few years in conjunction with Digital Shoreditch to try and help grow effective links between the city and the impressive tech cluster on our doorstep. This is the first one we've hosted during Digital Shoreditch Week itself, but they've all been incredibly successful as far as we are concerned. You may well ask, why does the City of London Corporation, traditionally associated with the finance industry, feel it important to hold these sort of events and to associate with people that perhaps some years ago we might not have associated ourselves with? Well, there's a number of reasons. Firstly, we are feeling the ripple effect of the digital success story, and we are reliably told that the fintech industry employs 44,000 people in the UK. I have no idea where that figure comes from, but it's used so authoritatively it must be correct. And this is more than in New York or Silicon Valley, which I'm told is also absolutely correct. And many of those firms are in the city, or they're close to the city, particularly in the boroughs of Hackney and Islington. And it's not an exaggeration to say that the success of this sector is vital to London's future as a financial sector. We know that the big financial institutions are, but at the same time, both wishing to use the products and the techniques that can be developed by the tech sector, and are scared stiff that the tech sector will knock them out of business. So there's two quite separate things that the finance industry needs to be concerned about. We also know that technology and communications companies occupy a significant chunk of office space in the city. We've got companies such as Amazon and WorldPay, and Bloomberg, although a very established sort of city-type institution, is building a whopping great new headquarters just by the Bank of England. And that's terrific that that company has chosen to build a big new headquarters in the City of London. The demand is forecast to increase. We're looking at an extra 5,000 jobs in the technology sector by 2023. Is that all? It must be much more than that, surely. It depends how you define technology. We'll make that 15,000 jobs. By 20, I'm a politician. I can make things up. We also recognise in the city that we need the right infrastructure to be in place for all businesses, especially with the growing tech sector. We have a structured programme of work in the City Corporation called Superfast City. Our aspirations are to engage with the telecommunications market in a variety of ways to provide superfast broadband and network coverage. And we know we do not have superfast broadband in all parts of the city and close by. It is appalling, but I can assure you that work is being done to rectify this. It absolutely has to be done. It is vital for the city's future. I was at a meeting a day or two ago, and I've forgotten who it was with a lot of senior regulators and government people, and I commented that it's really not great when two of the problems that people report to us in starting tech businesses in London is a telephone line and a bank account, which can be equally difficult to get. So we've got to deal with those issues and be assured that we are dealing with them. But connections between the city and tech city companies are also essential to drive up higher rates of startups in London, and we want to establish London as one of the world's leading digital economies. So tonight we're going to learn a bit more about each other, make connections, catalyse high growth investment and learning opportunities, and support London's vibrant entrepreneurial sector. So I urge everybody here not to talk to your friends. In the case of city people, they might not have any friends, damn sure they do. Talk to people who look a bit different. Talk to people that you've never met before, and I'm sure you'll make some useful connections. And something we do very well in the city, we are very good at enjoying ourselves. So enjoy our first-class champagne. You've got champagne? Enjoy our first-class... White wine is the new champagne. So please enjoy it. Now, I'm a politician. I'm sure you'd much rather hear from somebody who knows about these techie things. So we're going to have an insight into the tech cluster in San Francisco. And I'm going to hand you over to Samir Patel, President and CEO of Growth Machines, who is photographing me as we speak.
going live.
Oh, yeah. This is worrying. Okay, I'm going to say really nice things about you now. So in the last decade, he's pioneered the use of predictive and data science in marketing and accelerated growth for Fortune 500 companies such as Salesforce.com, Priceline, Experian, Oracle, AT&T, Progressive, and Scottrade. So Samir, over to you.
Hello everyone. How's everyone doing? I just came into London yesterday night and have been having a great time so far. So I did a talk earlier this morning and I was asked to speak about how to bring kind of the startup community together, you know, the techies with the old people with ties, as you said. How can there be a bridge, right? I mean, we had that issue and we still have that issue, but you know, we have it, it's a bi-coastal issue, right? California culture versus the New York culture, right? So I had investors who used to fly in from New York into San Francisco, and they would come in suits, and all of us would be like laughing at them. It's like, what are you wearing? And then when they looked at us with like, you know, slippers and flip-flops and like torn t-shirts, they're like, what are you doing with my money? You know? so we always had that, right? But the good part about you guys is you guys are so close. So you can learn about each other, you can meet like this, and understand each other's worlds, right? Which are very, very different. So a couple of things I want to highlight on why the startups need the finance guys. And then we'll talk about how to bridge the gap between the finance guys and the other guys. So what startups need and the ecosystem needs is liquidity, right? Either liquidity comes from, you know, people who want to run their own companies is one option, second is sell it to somebody, third is go IPO, right? And if the market doesn't support liquidity, there is no way the ecosystem can blossom, right? And there cannot be new investments at a larger scale. The second thing is companies need growth capital, and they need growth capital when they need the capital. You know, most investors in Europe are sitting at the sidelines and waiting for a company for everything to be perfect, right? And it's never perfect. So that's the second part. The third is they need growth expertise. Most founders can take a company to a point and then it's going to plateau out, right? So they need people with financial engineering skills, with finance skills to help scale a company. And so that's what startups need, right? And to bridge the gap between these two cultures and people, there's three things that are important. One is understanding risk, right? The view of a banker in perception of risk is very different than how an entrepreneur takes risks, right? You can ask my mom about what she thinks about the risks I take. And it doesn't make any sense to anybody. It cannot be put on a model. It cannot be put in a cash flow. You know, all of it is bullshit. Even if you have the best model in the world, there's like 300 assumptions. So if you change one assumption, everything else changes. So understanding risk is important. I think empathizing with a startup life, like most successful VCs and investors and even policymakers in California are successful because they empathize with, you know, they've been entrepreneurs before, they've been in the same shoes, and they know how these things work. And the third is the economics of disruption. So disruptive companies work very, very differently. And their economics, like Uber's economics, Airbnb's economics, are very, very different than a Fortune 500 company that started 15 years ago. So I think those three things are important. The next kind of four things I learned from the Valley. One is if you are working in the startup ecosystem, you have to give a shit about founders, right? You have to really deeply care that this person becomes successful. So the caring part comes naturally from the Valley because most people who have come in the Valley have come as immigrants. I mean, I came in with a big family debt when I came into the US. So most people are coming in and they're like making it happen, right? And making it work. So I think that's important. The second is mentoring. So I was talking to my friend earlier, is mentoring is just so natural. Like people are willing to open up, the first time they meet you, they'll open up their Rolodexes for you, introduce you to everybody, and make it happen. So that mentoring culture is big. The other piece to the valley is sprinkling a lot of seeds, right? So you guys must have read the book called Little Bets. So in that, the theory is you sprinkle a lot of seeds, right? Like a banyan tree sprinkles hundreds of thousands of seeds, and only like 4 actually become trees, right? But then those 4 will sprout like millions of others, right? And I think that psychology has to happen, so this machine needs to keep going, so that those little bets are important. And I think lastly, having risk reduction along like how when a startup grows at different phases, there's things you can do, like you must have heard of lean startup and lean engineering, right? Like, and what they're trying to do is they're trying to introduce strategic frameworks to be able to reduce the risk of a startup getting to be successful, right? And the Valley is super good at that. So yeah, and I think the last thing I want to share is just I've only been here for 24 hours, but it has been very exciting. And the exciting thing I'm learning about London is like the first thing is geography. Like everybody's so close, the financial guys and the entrepreneurs, and I think there's a huge opportunity to accelerate the growth. It took us like 30-40 years in the Silicon Valley, right, to create Silicon Valley, or even 50 years. But you guys can do it in a shorter time frame. I think the second one I'm hearing over and over is the tax benefits. And cities giving so much attention to that, and I think that's gonna, obviously that's already inviting a lot more people. And the last thing is I've felt like a really good buzz, and not by drinking, I don't do that, but a good buzz in terms of just being around Shoreditch, just around the location, and I think that vibe is super important. I mean, that's gonna bring me back again. And I think also a very multicultural, compared to other places I've been in Europe, it's definitely very distinctive. So yeah, I wish you all the good luck, and hopefully there's more things that happen between the Valley and the City of London, and if I can do anything, please let me know. Thank you.